Streaming live from the Paul and Catherine Ranke Memorial Studio, this is TV Free Baltimore. Support for TV Free Baltimore comes from viewers like you. Become a TV Free Baltimore member by visiting patreon.com/TV Free Baltimore.
You're watching Maryland Politics here on TV Free Baltimore. As promised, we have another libertarian in the studio. Mr. Garcia, please introduce yourself to our audience.
My name is Kevin Andres Garcia. Middle name's Andres. I go by Andres. I am a libertarian running for Congress in District 8 in Maryland, which is Montgomery County, southern portion of Montgomery County.
Extreme Democratic gerrymandering in Maryland guarantees victory for all the incumbents running for Congress. So why are you participating in a so-called election that's the same as those so-called elections held under authoritarian regimes?
It's not about winning. It's about pushing, it's about fighting for libertarian ideals, because we as libertarians understand that a society that is more free of government intervention, of federal oversight, is one in which we can all thrive better.
Explain to the viewers why you believe you're qualified to win the seat in Congress.
I think I'm qualified to run strictly because I am not a career politician. I think they're the ones who are actually doing the most harm in this country, so the only way to actually stop them is to replace them with folks who want nothing to do with government, who want to vote for term limits, who want to actually hinder the powers of Congress, not expand them. So in that sense, I'm perfectly qualified to serve in Congress.
On your website, you mentioned election integrity. Explain to the viewers your concerns about election integrity.
2020 was an unprecedented year in terms of election processes across the country. Different states, multiple states introducing brand new guidelines, brand new procedures that have never been tested, have never been thoroughly audited, have not gone through the ringer. And, you know, in reference to your previous question, that's what led these authoritarian regimes to steal these elections, is that they had these completely corrupt processes that made it seem to the masses as if there's an actual election process, but they were just pulling the strings in the background to let whomever they wanted to actually win. So that's where the concern comes from. And if you don't have honest elections, you don't have a country.
Congress recently passed the Inflation Reduction Act. If you were in Congress, would you support this legislation? And if not, why?
Absolutely, 100%. I would not have supported this bill in any way, shape, or form, because unlike many people, unfortunately, I look past the names of bills and I look into the actual text of these bills, and something that's titled the Inflation Reduction Act that spends hundreds of billions of more dollars that we already do not have, adding upwards of 90,000 IRS agents and raising taxes and regulations all across the board, to suggest that that piece of legislation reduces inflation, which is just strictly the result of federal government infusing tons and tons of funny money into the market, to suggest that this regulation, this law that increases government regulation is going to reduce inflation is just absolutely absurd.
The American-Mexican border gives ample opportunity for illegal immigration and smuggling of many sorts. What's your stance on open borders?
Open borders, it comes from a place of compassion, but I just think, unfortunately, we live in a world where compassion is very easily corrupted, where it's very easily taken advantage of. And that's what we see right now happening at our southern border, where we have an administration in place that is very much pro-open borders. And so it's not just illegal immigration, illegal immigrants coming through. You know, that's unfortunately, that's the least of our worries at this point. Now we have just pounds and pounds, kilos of drugs and trafficking, human trafficking, drug trafficking. The issue is exacerbated when we have sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. California is a prime example, where they'll have a bevy of welfare programs and that already are far beyond extended to too many Americans, but they go furthermore to extend it to non-citizens, which again comes from a place of compassion, but the taxpayers are footing that bill.
In your opinion, which one of the two major parties is the greatest threat to liberty?
That's a good question. That's a loaded question. I think, in a way, that's kind of posing the question as part of the problem, because we're seeing, most recently with President Biden's speech in Philadelphia, how political division in this country is not an all-time high, but it's at a very near-term high. And this constant discussion of who's the bigger threat, who's this, who's that. I think it can obfuscate what the real problem is. And the real problem at stake is the career politicians, both D and R, in Congress, who have spent decades really eroding this country from within. So it's, when you ask me who is worse, it's not one particular party. It's whomever has been in power for decades upon decades, enriching themselves at the expense of the taxpayer. So whomever is on that team, I'm on the other side.
If you're elected to Congress, who would you caucus with and why?
Yeah, I've gotten this question before, and it's sort of semi-loaded, because at the end of the day, every libertarian will tell you, or they should tell you, that our number one goal is to reduce the size and scope of government, full stop. And at any level, local, state, federal, our goal is to reduce the influence of government. So I will caucus with whomever and whatever is willing to, on any issue, to where the outcome is to actually reduce government. I will caucus with you. Thank you, Charles. I really do appreciate the opportunity to have this conversation with you, because it's, there's very little in terms of support in terms of the liberty-minded candidate. So the fact that you're willing to have me on is really commendable. And for those who are watching who want to learn more about me, you can go to my website, andresforcongress.com. You can follow me on social media at Andres4Congress, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You're more than welcome to join me as I, fight this good fight with all the liberty-loving folks of the Libertarian Party of Maryland.
You're watching Maryland Politics here on TV Free Baltimore.